Welcome to the War Room, another week in the books for AEW Dynamite and NXT, and we're here to review and decide who won this week's Wednesday Night War. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me is Ralph Valenti. Ralph, let's start it off with two I thought were very good matches to open up each show. We had the 12-man tag on AEW Dynamite, the Elite FTR going up against the Dark Order, and on NXT, Rhea Ripley versus Dakota Kai, a number one contenders match for the NXT Women's Championship. The Rhea Ripley-Dakota Kai match I thought was very good. I thought Rhea Ripley was really putting a beating on Dakota Kai, and we got some storyline progression at the same time. Dakota Kai ends up winning the number one contendership, while Mercedes Martinez goes after Rhea Ripley, so the story of the Robert Stone brand and Rhea Ripley continues. And I thought the 12-man tag actually had some good storyline progression, Ralph. A lot going on in that match. But in the end, Brody Lee gets a big win for the Dark Order, pinning Hangman Page. So what do you make of this 12-man? I thought the 12-man was much better compared to last week's 10-man tag.
I guess it's up to interpretation. I thought it was okay. I mean, I thought it was certainly very chaotic at a lot of points. I think the referee was choosing the spots at which he wanted to enforce rules.
Yes, I agree.
Which kind of is what it is. And look, I mean, we've kind of already had this discussion previously on the show multiple times. The type of tag team or, even group type of match like the one that we saw last night, the type of approach that the AEW wrestlers are going to take for these matches is going to be something that's very different from what you're traditionally going to see from WWE and NXT, whatever, and just about more structured tag team matches, and that's fine. If fans are into that stuff, if that's what their fan base wants to see, then it is what it is. That's what they're going to continue to do. That's just the style that they're going to continue to work. I thought that the match itself certainly had some really good moments. I think that the big part of this was, I think FTR leaving. I think that's going to be an intricate part of going towards All Out, because I got to imagine that the big thing for FTR and the Young Bucks with FTR going to AEW, the big kind of feud that a lot of people were hoping for, I think, was FTR to go against the Bucks. So I think it will be revealed that there probably really was no injury. I think that part of that reveal will happen where they end up, jumping the Young Bucks or something along those lines to help build up that storyline. But the match itself, it had its moments. Like I said, it was a little chaotic at some points, but what can you really do when you have that many people involved in the match?
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of moving pieces.
Absolutely, yeah, and the Dakota Kai Rhea Ripley match, obviously much more traditional, straight up wrestling match. I thought it was very good. Definitely exceeded a lot of my expectations. This is one of my favorite matches from the night between both shows, and it just really goes to show you how far women's wrestling really has come, especially for NXT. Because if you go back about a year and a half ago, really when many of their stars went up to the main roster, just to see that Triple H continues to work with these individuals and get them where they need to be from a professional standpoint, it's definitely impressive. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, Dakota Kai took a massive beating in this match. Like Rhea Ripley is really stiff in this match, I thought. And that electric chair onto the apron, that was a hard spot to watch. So let's move on to the next set of matches here. The Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz in a tag team match. On NXT, we have Bronson Reed versus Shane Thorn. I thought, obviously, the thing that NXT is trying to do is build up Bronson Reed heading into the ladder match for NXT TakeOver 30. I think they're doing a decent job with it. This match, for its in-ring purposes, wasn't the best. Best Friends and Santana and Ortiz, I thought was a much better tag team match than the 12-man tag as far as the traditional structure of things. And I thought the storytelling and selling of Trent Beretta's back was very, very good. The surprise win, roll up, and then what we got afterwards where Santana and Ortiz trashed and graffitied Sue, Trent's mom's van, and Best Friends cut a good promo afterwards. I thought that was good. I thought this whole match was good. Good storyline progression where this could end up being Best Friends versus Santana and Ortiz at All Out.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's where this is going to certainly head. Another match that kind of really caught me by surprise. I don't know if they're still called Proud and Powerful. I haven't really neccally heard somebody refer to them as that. I think they just got rid of that tag team name altogether. But Santana and Ortiz are Proud and Powerful, whatever you want to call them. I thought this match was really good. I think that the Best Friends certainly needed the win. And you get the obvious storyline progression afterwards with the whole van. And we'll see where that goes. Probably lead into something weird at All Out involving a van. I don't really know where that's going to go.
Remember that WCW match where they had a fight on the tractor trailer? It was,
yes.
Maybe they go that route where they have the match in a van or like a really big van just to kind of connect the two. Because,
maybe
Tony
a Winnebago.
Khan, maybe a Winnebago, but Tony Khan has really been like doing a lot of throwback booking. Maybe he throws this out there. I don't know, but maybe that's just me thinking way too much into this. But I thought that was great. And the Best Friends, honestly, have been one of the highlights of this pandemic era where there's no fans, and they've done a really good job from the beginning of these empty arena shows, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think they've done a really good job. I've always been pretty big on Trent Beretta, especially going back to his match against Kenny Omega, where I think I feel like he really proved that he can carry himself as just a singles competitor. So I got to think that something will happen with that eventually. I wasn't as high on the
Bronson Reed and Shane Thorn match.
The promo that he cut after the match. I thought it was fine, but it was just kind of like, I'm going to call my mom and I'm going to put her on speakerphone and you're going to apologize, damn it.
Well, that's kind of like the gimmick though.
I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't like it was bad. It was just kind of like, okay, well, that wasn't very threatening or scary, but sure. Okay. Bronson Reed, he's kind of like a guy that they're trying to push right now. I think that he's certainly skilled for a guy his size. Thought the match was okay. It was hard hitting. It was in your face, which you'd expect from two bigger guys like that. So both matches really kind of delivered, in my opinion.
Yeah, it did. And like I said, Bronson Reed, they're building up to be a big player in NXT. Perhaps he's the one that takes the belt off in the ladder match and becomes a new North American champion. But
possible.
It is. But let's move on to the next participants that are going to be deciding who will be in that ladder match. Damian Priest does win over Oney Lorcan and Ridge Holland. And on AEW Dynamite, we have Matt Hardy calling out Sammy Guevara, and it leads to a very bloody spot where Matt Hardy is busted open. Sammy Guevara does a flip through a table onto Matt Hardy. I thought the Damian Priest match, the triple threat match, it was good. But again, that triple threat match just did not live up to the bar that was set from the first triple threat match that we saw that was just really good. And then the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara match, like if this is the real Matthew Hardy that he's been teasing, have him continue it. I love it. I love this real Matthew Hardy so far. And Sammy Guevara, since he's come back, very good. A well-executed segment. And obviously this is setting up for a match at All Out, in my opinion. Maybe it ends up being a tables match or a no-holds-barred match. Something along those lines for All Out.
Yeah, I thought Matt Hardy's promo was certainly very good. I like the way that storyline's progressing. The cut that everybody's talking about where he was bleeding profusely, everyone kept saying it was the chair. I don't think it's the chair. If you go back and watch that specific spot, I think it's actually where he got thrown into the ring post because for whatever reason, rather than having rounded ring posts, AEW has these ring posts that are more square shaped and have a literal point on the edge of them, like a vertice or something. So I honestly think if you go back and watch that, the sound and the thud of his head against that's where I think he cut his head. But either way, I really like the way the storyline's progressing. I think that those two are actually going to have a match at All Out that I think will surprise a lot of people because, Matt Hardy's been in the industry for so long and there is a lot of subtleties in terms of where the storyline is going that I think will play nicely into that match where I'm sure it will be some type of, I don't know, tables, ladders, chair type thing, hardcore match. Just given from what we've seen from both of them to this point. Going over to NXT, like you said, the triple threat match, it was good. It delivered. Most matches in NXT typically do deliver. There's very few matches that let people down. I didn't think it was amazing. I thought it was good. I thought it was hard hitting and in your face, but both segments really were fine, in my opinion.
All right, yeah, let's move over to the next segment then. We have a tag team match, another tag team match on AEW Dynamite. This time, it's Cody with the debuting Matt Cardona going against John Silver and Alex Reynolds, as Ralph likes to call them, Thing 1 and Thing 2. And we have the NXT champion, Keith Lee, going up against Cameron Grimes. I think of all the tag team matches last night on Dynamite, this was the best one. I thought, as far as the traditional structure of it was the best executed. I will say, though, I think Aubrey Edwards could have been a little bit better as a referee enforcing the rules, but I think John Silver and Alex Reynolds definitely are a good tag team and did a very good job cornering Cody for the majority of this match, setting up the hot tag for Matt Cardona, and Matt Cardona getting the win. I thought that was very, very good. And then afterwards, we get the challenge from Scorpio Sky to Cody for the TNT Championship, and that's happening next week. And for those that haven't been watching AEW Dark, Scorpio Sky's been having a good run, a good singles run on Dark. Hopefully this leads to a good match on Dynamite, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a title switch here and Scorpio takes the win over Cody.
Yeah, I thought the tag team match was certainly good. I know I've been critical of Thing 1 and Thing 2 over there, but I think the one thing I took away from this was it was unfortunate that after a big win for the Dark Order in the opening segment, then these two guys went out there and lost. But
Yeah.
I mean, they looked good throughout the match. They actually surprised me, so certainly give them credit for that. I definitely wrote down in my notes, yes, they worked a hot tag. Yes, it can still work because everybody, well, this was Cardona's first match in AEW, so you got to think that had there been a live crowd there, people would have popped for the hot tag because Cody was certainly getting the crap kicked out of him up until that point. So That was cool. I'm excited to see Scorpio Sky put in this position where he's hopefully going to be challenging Cody. I don't necessarily know if he's going to take the title off him. But either way, it's good to see that somebody who is a little more established, other than the guys Cody has really faced to this point, is going to be challenging for the title to kind of break things up a little bit. Take a break from the independent guys showing up and challenging for the title and go back to somebody like a Scorpio Sky, who certainly is more established and can probably give him a more realistic run for his money in a title match.
Did you happen to see Scorpio Sky's promo on Dark this week?
No, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because one, I don't watch AEW Dark on a consistent basis. I watch it when I can. And here's the thing. A lot of times with AEW, I feel like the fans will openly say, well, did you see that on Being the Elite? Did you see that on Dark? Did you see they had that on their YouTube channel? If it's truly that important, it will be featured on Dynamite because Dynamite is their feature show, right? Just like if something is that important for WWE, they're going to feature it on SmackDown, Raw, or NXT. You shouldn't have to feel like you have to do your homework to understand where the storylines are going and how things are progressing. So yeah, it's great that Scorpio Sky is having this winning streak on AEW Dark, but they could at least acknowledge that on Dynamite to help build this up a little bit better.
True. I mean, I'm only saying that because the promo that he cut was very, very good, and he could definitely be a single star in AEW, and that promo really helped with that. But let's talk about this Keith Lee, Cameron Grimes match. Honestly, it felt really, really long, and I know they're trying to push Cameron Grimes as a possible contender, but the way that they're trying to build Keith Lee's character now is he's trying to get this mean side. I don't think he gets a mean side by having a 30-minute match or nearly 30-minute match with Cameron Grimes. Now, I know he's been a thorn on his side the last couple of weeks, but I think it should have just ended with, make it a 10, 15-minute match. It was a little too long for me. And then afterwards, the Keith Lee, Karrion Kross back and forth. I thought Kross's promo was good and beating up Oney Lorcan, which sets up a match with Danny Burch next week. I thought that was good. The match itself was just really long, in my opinion.
So you don't think title contenders and champions should really go the distance against comic relief acts?
Well, I don't think Cameron Grimes is a comedy relief act. I think he could be
somewhat comedy relief.
He is, but he can also be a contender. But I'm not saying have a 5-minute squash match. I'm just saying that match could have been cut down by maybe 10 minutes and still have the same effect.
Just keep that in mind because that might come up again in a little bit. But either way, as far as this, I thought the match was certainly long. I think I mean the outcome was predetermined.
Right.
You knew Cameron Grimes wasn't going to win.
Right.
I liked what we saw from Karrion Kross. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens as they kind of build towards him and Keith Lee in their match. You got to think that's going to take place at NXT 30. And what are they going to do? Are they going to take the belt right off Keith Lee after winning? I mean, he's only held it for so long, and they're pushing Karrion Kross really strong, which is great. But I don't know. It just kind of seems like they might be booking themselves into a situation where people are going to get pissed because they're not going to get a clean win out of this.
Well, I say whoever loses is probably going to the main roster.
It's possible, yeah.
because I don't think Karrion Kross's time in NXT is going to be long. And Keith Lee is obviously someone that could be a big star on the main roster. It's just time for him to go to the main roster whenever he drops the title. But let's move on to a couple promo segments on the shows. We have on NXT, Legado del Phantasma cutting a promo after they beat up Fandango and Tyler Breeze, talking about how they are going to change people's perspective on Lucha Libre. I got to admit, at first I did not like this story, but now that it's progressed and Santos Escobar has been talking, I actually am intrigued with Legado del Phantasma. Now, on the other hand, you have AEW Dynamite having the Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy debate with Eric Bischoff as the moderator. Ralph, you have been a critic of Orange Cassidy on this podcast for many, many months. You've been saying he needs to cut a promo. He cuts a promo. I thought it was pretty good. I think at this point, if no one understands why Orange Cassidy does what he does, this promo explained it exactly why he does what he does. Your thoughts on the promo, the whole segment of Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho?
I thought the segment overall was good. I thought Chris Jericho was very good. I like the dynamic they set up between the two. And I think the thing that people are probably looking forward to the most, including myself, what was Orange Cassidy going to do? He was set up and he was put in a situation which, as he pointed out, you got a guy in Chris Jericho who is so over the top, one of the better talkers in the industry, again, going against a guy in a debate who doesn't talk. So after all this time of us waiting for Orange Cassidy to cut this promo and talk and show some character and show some fire, we get, well, sea levels are rising at a rate of blah, blah, blah. And, this is NPR News. And my name is, I just want to let you know that there's a lost dog from the two houses up the street.
And that,
can you please leave the newspaper at the end of the driveway? And yeah, that's what I have to say. That sums it up.
No.
I wanted the guy to cut a promo. I didn't say I wanted him to cut a shitty promo. The second half, after we got over the whole global warming thing, which, mind you, because I saw people over Twitter, this is exactly what he needed to say. Daniel Bryan did it a year ago, and he did it better. He did it a year ago, and he did it better. He even had a recycled title that he carried around for however long, and he got it more over and got booed and everything else. Orange Cassidy.
That was happy. Different. That was different. First off, that was Daniel Bryan's character.
Of course it's different. Here we go.
But the thing with Orange Cassidy was he wasn't going to talk. So then he talks about this. And really what it reminded me of was that scene in Old School where Will Ferrell is debating and he just shoots out this really well thought out argument where James Carville could not respond. That's what that was. That's what I thought that was, and that made the connection there. And I actually liked it. I'm not looking at it as him trying to be like Daniel Bryan. Yes, Daniel Bryan did it better, but just the fact that Orange Cassidy was willing to talk, that got you interested. And then when he talks afterwards and says what he has to say, that's what made it even better. I'm not like, I get it. What he's saying makes no sense, but it was just the fact that he started to talk, got people like, oh, holy crap, he could talk. And he actually could prove a point. That's what I think the reason for it was.
You know the scene in Old School where Will Ferrell's streaking down the street and people stop and look because they're like, wait, what the hell? Like, what's going on over here?
Yes.
That's kind of what it was like because grown men shouldn't streak down the street.
So
Orange
you're saying
Cassidy, while he cut a promo, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't anything to write home. I certainly don't think it was amazing. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it's going to do any harm or foul to him. It was what it was. He pretty much said what I expected him to say. You're Chris Jericho. You can't lose to me, blah, 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 blah. He certainly didn't look confident in himself when he was cutting the promo. That's what I'll say. If you look at it, so literally, if you look at Chris Jericho and the way he's able to command the room and the way he's able to cut a promo, that's a guy who can literally go out there, whether it's in front of 10 people, 100 people, thousands of people, and confidently cut a promo, probably without a script put in front of him. Now, Orange Cassidy, on the other hand, there's a clear difference when he's trying to cut a promo because he doesn't look confident in himself doing it. And that's probably because he's never been expected to do it. So, I mean, yeah, he should be cutting promos. But again, going back to my original argument with him, where do they see this guy? Like, are they actually going to try and he's probably going to beat Jericho next week. I mean, let's be honest. That's where I think this is going to go. And they're going to try to build him up. And can he carry himself as a true main eventer like a Chris Jericho or an MJF? I don't know. I'm not sold. I mean, I'm not saying there's no chance, but I'm saying there's probably no chance.
Okay. So again, the critiques continue with Orange Cassidy with Ralph. So yeah. Well, I guess the bandana that you made a couple weeks ago is still on sale for, what was it, $69.69 at scpbpodcast.gov.
Exactly. And all proceeds go directly to my bank account. I might make a donation to MJF 2020. You never know.
Oh,
no
man.
pulp in that son of a bitch, that's for sure. Or my TV set, for that matter.
Moving on. Couple of squash matches in the women's division for both shows. Big Swole beats Reba. Tegan Knox beats Indy Hartwell. Not much to talk about with these matches, obviously, but I think a lot of people are starting to tweet out and talk on social media that the AEW women's division deserves better, and the hashtag women deserve better has come out. And I have to admit that a 5-minute squash match for the only thing happening on Dynamite is not good. There should be more, especially when you got this deadly draw tournament.
Exactly.
And you put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Why can't the deadly draw tournament be on Dynamite? Why? Or better yet, why can't, if it's going to be an hour long, you're telling me TNT can't find an hour to throw the deadly draw somewhere on TNT? Put it on Saturday night, 6:00. They're going to put Dynamite on there. Why not do this deadly draw for a month? What are you putting on Saturday nights that you can't put the deadly draw there? Nothing. I'm sorry.
Well, like I said, if it's truly that important, you'll find a way to get it on your TV show. And Dynamite is their main show. So,
yeah,
I think it's been kind of like a roller coaster for their women's division. It's had high points and it's had low points. And certainly people have been critical of the women's division. And again, there's still a relatively new company, so they're still trying to gain traction here.
Yes.
But like you just said, if it's where the deadly draw, where they're trying to get this thing going and it's that important, it should be on the main show. And it's unfortunate that it's not. So I can't say I disagree with people who are saying, that give them their opportunities. Like, going back even a few weeks ago, Hikaru Shida and who was it? Penelope Ford. They went out there. They had a good match about a month ago. It's not like they don't have people that aren't capable of doing it. So let them do it. Why the hell not?
Like, you could have a storyline where Penelope Ford tries to get a title shot back. Nyla Rose is chasing the title. You have Diamante and Ivelisse that just had a match together. Why not put them together as a tag team and start wreaking havoc? Brandy and Allie have their weird dynamic that they're doing. There's stuff there. You're telling me Kenny Omega or whoever's running this women's division can't be going to Tony Khan and be like, listen, can I get 15 minutes to put some stuff on Dynamite to help our women's division? You're telling me Kenny Omega or Brandy Rhodes or Tony Khan can't figure that out?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, look, let's just say you wanted to cut out any of the segments from Dynamite, right? So the whole thing, like we were going back to with the Best Friends and Proud and Powerful or Santana or Ortiz, the whole thing about the van getting jacked up and stuff, you could still have that happen without them having the match initially. So why not take the match out, have them jack up the van? Just because they're assholes, they're in the inner circle. They do it without even having a motive to do it.
Right.
They go out, they see the van, they cuts the promo. You save X amount of time for a women's tag team match on Dynamite.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. That's how you save 15 minutes for the women's division right there.
Or we could have just had Orange Cassidy not cut a promo.
Well, you got to have him cut a promo or else he won't evolve, Ralph.
That is true. 100% true.
All right, main event time. NXT Tag Team Championship match, Imperium against the Undisputed Era. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin for the AEW Championship. Storyline progression here. I loved the storyline that they were telling with Moxley and Darby Allin. With Jon Moxley kind of being the voice of reason. He didn't really want to beat down Darby to the point where he had to incapacitate him. But Darby, being the young fool that he is, just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. MJF comes in, tries to knock out Jon Moxley with the championship belt, try to get Darby Allin the title so it's an easier opponent for him at All Out. That didn't work. Jon Moxley still retains. Darby Allin still looks good in the loss. Another loss where he looks good in. On NXT, the match, we were distracted by something because while the match was good, it was the back and forth between Pat McAfee and Adam Cole that everybody's talking about and everybody was focusing in on. You have Beth Phoenix leaving the broadcast because Pat McAfee was being a dick about Adam Cole. Tom Phillips is saying, dude, you are talking about him 20 feet away. He can hear you. I don't even think Mauro Ranallo was really talking. Was he even on the broadcast for this match?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. So then Adam Cole goes in and confronts Pat McAfee. That distracts the Undisputed Era. Imperium win. And we get this pull-apart brawl where Pat McAfee literally punts Adam Cole and knocks him out before Triple H pushes him out of the Performance Center. I actually like this back and forth between Pat McAfee and Adam Cole. I really like the match to close out the show of the AEW Dynamite. I thought both shows closed out very well. I kind of worried to see where this is going with NXT, that they're trying to do Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee for a match, because that screams Bam Bam versus LT WrestleMania 11. Former football player.
Breaking news here on SCPB podcast, because Triple H actually did set this up. So we offered Pat McAfee a match against Adam Cole today on ESPN.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. At TakeOver 30, he did. But you know, and this is what we talk about this all the time. Yes, it's a business move. Do we expect that to be a huge thing or like, you know, a great match? Probably not. But you know what? The segment did what it was supposed to do. It helped establish a storyline that people can talk about outside of the fan base that's just focusing on NXT on a weekly thing. So Triple H was able to go on ESPN. The hopes is that people who watch ESPN may take a look at, okay, well, McAfee's on NXT. Maybe I'll tune in. Maybe I wasn't going to tune in. Maybe I didn't even watch NXT, but you know what? I know who that is, so I'm going to tune in now. Same thing Tyson did, obviously to a much greater extent, but Tyson does that for AEW when he's on there.
Yeah, I agree to that extent. That definitely, but will it work? That's the question. Will it bring more people to TakeOver 30? Will more people talk about it? Because Pat McAfee, yes, he's Pat McAfee, former NFL player, one of the best punters during his time. But Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson. He can actually bring in viewers. Can Pat McAfee bring in even a ratings boost for the next couple weeks on NXT heading into NXT TakeOver 30? Will that convert to subscribers? Will that convert to just people watching that one night and then unsubscribe? Now, I know that you don't get the free month anymore on the WWE Network. So even if those people do get a one-off, they're getting $10 regardless of their subscription for 1 month or one night or the entire month. So that's got to be a plus for them. So like you said, I agree. It's a business move. I just hope that NXT, because they do this a lot where they try to do a quick ratings bump, but then there's no follow-up to it. I just hope that doesn't happen again with NXT. So, but speaking of ratings, the ratings are in, and this week, AEW Dynamite and NXT are both up in the demos and total viewership. AEW Dynamite wins the 18-49 with a 0.36 over NXT's 0.20. NXT wins the 50-plus 0.39 over AEW's 0.32. And in total viewership, AEW Dynamite gets a big increase, winning the total viewership 901,000 total viewers to NXT 753,000, which is another increase from last week. All right, so now that the ratings are in, we talked about both shows. Let's decide which show is better. Ralph, I personally think this week, I think it's a no-brainer. AEW Dynamite was the better show this week. While that Rhea Ripley Dakota Kai match was very, very good, probably the match of the night, unless you like the 12-man, Jon Moxley. I mean, if you like the matches on Dynamite, they were obviously better for you, but that Rhea Ripley Dakota Kai match definitely has to be talked about for match of the week. But other than that, there really wasn't much to talk about with NXT. So AEW Dynamite gets the win for me.
Yeah, I got to agree. I find myself more times than not being more invested in what Dynamite is doing. And I feel like their fans certainly are more invested in what they're doing. There's just more of a buzz surrounding AEW Dynamite as a whole, I think. And there's a few reasons for that. I think that right now, NXT is really in a weird time because they're trying to get certain guys over and they're in a period of transition. And while that's going on, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And it's really hard, I think, to get people over and established when you have no crowd. So they're trying to get guys like Thatcher over. They're trying to get guys like Dexter Loomis established. They're trying to get guys like Karrion Kross as a legitimate threat to Keith Lee. And the list goes on and on. Swerve Scott, all these new guys, right? Not familiar faces. Now, the other thing that NXT does, and I don't know why they do this, there's probably a legitimate reason for it, and it might have to do with the pandemic and scheduling all of this type of stuff, but guys, big name guys, will show up one week and disappear for several and then come back. Like
It sounds like something that happens on the main roster.
Even more so, I think, on NXT. So there was no Johnny Gargano this week. There was no Finn Balor. Tommaso Ciampa hasn't been there. So you have guys that you're trying to get over and establish new stars. You have no crowd. And I think that for Dynamite and for AEW, they have guys that were already established before you had no crowd. So I think it stands out more for NXT because you have these new guys that you're trying to get over. Whereas in AEW, in comparison, the guys that are the focal point, they're there week after week, and they've already been over. Mm-hmm. So it's not as noticeable with the crowd.
Right. You're right. So let us know in the comments what you guys thought was the better show between AEW Dynamite and NXT. Don't forget to share us all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. And for news, reviews, and conversations on all things pro wrestling, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. For Ralph Valenti, my name's Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching the Squared Circle Zygo Babble.